What's up, A to Z Sports Live outside of Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Another day of Titans training camp behind us gets going in about 25 to 30 minutes from now, leading in closer and closer to the first preseason game of the 2024 season. Gonna have an interesting show today. Once again, a short show. This might be, Sam, our last short show because I think, as far as we know, this is our last 8:30 a.m. practice start because next week the Seahawks are in town. And those practices start at 10 to noon. So we'll have a full show before those days of joint practices with the Seattle Seahawks. But a quick show today talking about two offensive weapons that are emerging as Titans camp continues. And I think they're going to cause some problems for opposing defenses this upcoming season. So we're going to talk about Calvin Ridley and what Will Levis and he are doing and what they did yesterday to take that next step in their connection. And then we'll talk a little tight ends secondary in the show before Sam and I jump over to practice behind us at St. Thomas Sports Park. So welcome in. Sam, what's up? Let's get this thing rolling.
Hey, let's do it here. It's a Thursday with preseason action right around the corner. The Titans play the San Francisco 49ers this weekend. So things are ramping up here at camp. And yesterday, Austin, I would say, was the most live look training camp practice that we've had, simulated drives through. So a lot of reason for you to be here, a lot of reason to get your friends in here. That's why you guys have to share the show this morning. Hit the share button in the bottom right corner in Facebook. Take that YouTube link, send it into a group chat, send it to a Titans fan in your life. Let them know A to Z Sports is everything you missed at Titans practice that you're going to want to know before the Titans take the field this Saturday. So share the show. Don't forget to like the show before we go and kick things off here on a Thursday morning.
The episode officially welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan. We are live here at St. Thomas Sports Park and powered as always by the BetMGM app. A to Z Sports, Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. And got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. See them in Lebanon. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, boneandjointtn.org. And Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. Improve your health coverage by getting a better rate and better coverage, fbhp.com/ATOZ. Make sure you like the show. Again, we started earlier and we try to start as early as we can on these early practice mornings because we have a quick show before practice starts at 8:30. So make sure you hit that like button. If you hit the like button, more people get this in their feed that might expect us to be a little bit later of a start today. So please hit that like button. It's important for a show like today. So Sam, practice, you said in the cold open that it was the most kind of game-like practice that we've seen thus far, which is good because it's the best we've seen from Will Levis and Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was the first practice that we've really seen the Titans just kind of going live for the majority of practice. They basically rotated Will Levis to Mason Rudolph to Malik Willis, rotating around with their first, second, and third team offense against their first, second, and third team defense, doing drives, attempting to drive the length of the field. And they had referees there calling penalties. They were spotting the ball. They were marking first, second, third down.
Yep.
So we really got a feeling for how the practice was going, who was truly winning, and which quarterbacks were capable of leading their units down the field. It was live reps, or as close to live reps as you can get for an inter-squad practice. But Austin, you mentioned, yeah, it was the best we had seen from the Will Levis, Calvin Ridley connection. Something that I think they have been working towards throughout the first few weeks of camp here. I have been stunned at how well Calvin Ridley runs, at how crisp he is running his routes, at how open he can get and how much separation he can get. And yet the connection with Will Levis had not fully been there so far. It felt like the two of them kept sort of missing one another. And Will had to try and get a feeling for how quick Calvin is, how he runs his routes in order to know where the ball needs to be. It wasn't a very natural connection, but something that they both said they're trying to work on. And I had this feeling of, hey, once this thing goes, it's going to be problematic. And yesterday it went. I mean, we're talking a couple drives, like sideline throws from Will Levis, fitting the ball into very tight windows, really throwing the ball into a spot where Calvin Ridley's not open. Like he was guarded very well,
Right.
good coverage. And yet Calvin Ridley made a couple of just incredible catches, getting both feet down by some miracle for long gains down the field on the sideline. They capped off practice with like a 60-yard bomb from Levis to Ridley, where Ridley beat his guy, Trey Avery, and, got separation. And this time, Will Levis actually put the ball on him. Maybe a little bit underthrown, but, you can start to see steps where Levis and Ridley are getting back on the same page, and it's turning out to be explosive for the Titans offense.
Yeah, they're getting calibrated, and yesterday was a big point of that. We'll hear from Will Levis, the quarterback, about the work that he's been doing with Calvin Ridley, and also see one of those highlight plays that some people in the chat are already referencing here in a second. But all of our training camp coverage this summer for the Titans is brought to you by our friends at Smoky Mountain Tops. If you're thinking about updating your kitchen or bath countertops, call the pros at Smoky Mountain Tops. Family owned and operated for over 30 years. They've installed over 100,000 projects. If you've been to Bridgestone Arena or Neyland Stadium, you have seen Smoky Mountain's Tops, and they would love that opportunity to earn your business as well. Smoky Mountain Tops is proud to offer the luxurious Handstone Opimio Quartz collection as seen in both Nashville and Knoxville studios. Handstone Quartz known for quality and exceptional design with over 50 colors and unique patterns to draw your inspiration from. So book an appointment by calling Smoky Mountain Tops 615-922-6539 to see that Handstone Opimio Quartz. You can see them online at smokymountains.tops.com, and always tell them that A to Z Sports is where you heard about Smoky Mountain Tops. All right, so let's hear from Will Levis on the growing connection with Calvin Ridley before we see one of these highlight grabs from yesterday's practice.
Look at the back shoulder, you look at the deep pass. Like, what does a day like today with all these connections with Ridley, like, what does that do for the chemistry and confidence?
Yeah, those are just a couple types of connections we haven't really been able to hit too consistently here during camp. So that was definitely great for the confidence. I'm getting more and more comfortable with him every single day. Hitting the deep one down the red line was one we've been working on, and to get it in sync, get it in rhythm. I'm excited to watch the tape, and I think it's going to look exactly like we drew it up. So that's what you love, and you got to make plays like the back shoulder and have a feel for that. And so to get those reps are really valuable, and I know that we're going to have to make plays like that if this team wants to be successful.
They made a lot of plays yesterday, Levis and Ridley did. And during Jack and I's show yesterday morning, you were talking to Brian Callahan, and he brought up some things that he was doing with the two guys that are very important for this team that we saw the results pretty directly.
Yeah, I mean, Will Levis tells you right there, right? Like, there's been a lot of fan reaction to the fact that DeAndre Hopkins has been out and, well, he's missing valuable time. But one thing we figured out last year was that Will Levis and DeAndre Hopkins were able to establish a connection. Will Levis and Calvin Ridley have not had that opportunity yet to get on the same page. And so Ridley being out here is far more important than Hopkins being out here. And Will Levis tells you as much in that clip right there, where he says, it hasn't been in sync. We haven't really been able to figure it out, but they've been actively working on it. And Brian Callahan's been giving Will a couple of tips for how to figure out his wide receiver. And yesterday was the first day that it popped. And the good news is that I'm expecting it to continue to improve. And so it'll be very interesting over the next few weeks of training camp to head out here to St. Thomas Sports Park, get on the sideline, and watch how Will Levis and Calvin Ridley continue to grow in their combination.
All right, so let's get to the highlight sideline catch. You'll see it back-to-back twice. So here we go with Ridley bringing it down on the sideline.
Austin, it's the ability to get that second foot down that blows me away, because almost his entire body is out of bounds, leaning over the sideline, leaning over the marker, and he is still able to swing that right leg down with a full stride, by the way. This was not like a toe drag. That was like an extra 2 yards that he gets just by getting that foot down in another stride. So NM Titan says he's an elite route runner. He's also has great hands, but you see right there the body control that Calvin Ridley can demonstrate as well, which, that was not necessarily unique yesterday. There were 3 or 4 of those plays towards the sideline that you kind of looked up and said, how the heck did Ridley get his feet down there?
Yeah, I mean, you might know from your brief arena football career that if there was the wall there, then Calvin Ridley would be leaning on the wall while making that catch. And that happened right in front of us. And I think you and the ref simultaneously stepped up to the sideline, going catch, you got it. he got 2 feet in. So really impressive there from Ridley in that video via the Titans there on social media, because we weren't allowed to post that one. So that one was from the Titans, but the throw was just as good. Like, the catch was phenomenal when we just saw that, but the throw was just as good, because I'll play it one more time because the perspective that Sam and I had was basically right behind Calvin Ridley and where the throw was coming from. And so you watch really how well Ridley was covered on this to make the catch. Shy Carter was right there on the hip. And so Levis threw that football on a line and also up to where Ridley could get it, but Shy Carter had no chance. And so a great throw, great trajectory, and overall incredible play by the 2 Titans there.
Yeah, Troy wants to know, is this 7-on-7 or 11-on-11? This was the full team period of practice. So this was 11-on-11. Will Levis delivering a nice ball. I like that you brought that up, because whenever there's a highlight like this, right, everybody is very quick to go and praise the wide receiver, which Calvin Ridley deserves a lot of praise for that play, but he's not able to make that play if the ball placement from Will Levis is not perfect and doesn't give his guy a shot. So it's placed perfectly right over the right shoulder of Shy Carter, who has his back turned to the quarterback, gives Calvin Ridley a chance to come back inbounds away from the sideline and get his feet down.
For sure. And I think when you're talking about yesterday's practice with Levis throwing the ball down the field to Ridley or anybody else, and he had like the 50, 60-yard bomb to Ridley towards the end of practice, the one thing that has to happen for that to even be possible is protection.
Right.
And I think yesterday you saw protection with the running game, pass protection, overall the offensive line had a pretty solid day too. And the first time that we've known that Sadiq Charles is retired and Dylan Radins. Were you in on that scrum with Radins yesterday after practice talking about the right guard?
Yeah, Dylan Radins yesterday. Like, obviously the news that kind of shook everybody a little bit was the retirement of Sadiq Charles. Very unexpected, but it opens up a lot of opportunities for some other Titans players here. Dylan Radins being one of them, Andrew Rupsich being one of them. 2 guys who worked in with the first team offense yesterday, both competing for a starting right guard spot. I had a chance to talk to both of them and catch up to them. Radins was kind of, bummed that Sadiq Charles was no longer with the team, said he was a great teammate in the locker room, great juice guy, great morale guy. But, this is the National Football League, and it's next man up. And so what he's been fighting for all camp is an opportunity to start. He has one right now. I think he's the favorite for the job.
All right, so the title of today's show is 2 offensive weapons emerging in Titans camp that will give problems to opposing defenses. Calvin Ridley is absolutely emerging as camp goes on. We'll get to this next one in our conversation about the tight end position. But first, Farm Bureau Health Plans, they can help you out in multiple ways too, by saving you money on your health coverage, but also by getting you actual better coverage. So don't pay out of pocket at the dentist. Don't feel like you have to pay that crazy high deductible. You can make it work for you individually, your family, whatever the situation is. If you got a growing family, maybe your family is grown up and you and your spouse are empty nested and need that next level of coverage in the next stage of life. Farm Bureau Health Plans can literally do it all. They've been doing it for over 78 years here across the state of Tennessee. And I've been saying this, if you want a shortcut, which is already a really easy process, because fbhp.com/ATOZ is the link to go check out. But if you want an even quicker process, DM me on Twitter. Had 2 people do it so far. 2 people have hit me up on Twitter, Austin Stanley 81, and I will give you the direct email to get your process started with Farm Bureau Health Plans. So let's make it 3, 4, 5, 6, however many. But if you want to look it up and figure out if you can save money and get better coverage for you or your family, fbhp.com/ATOZ, or hit me up on Twitter right there, Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Today's show powered by BetMGM. BetMGM is the king of sports books, and if you use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up, you can get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. Whatever that first bet wager amount is, it goes back into your account in the form of a bonus bet if you lose. That's the best way to do sports betting, when you get 2 chances to win big and your first bet is risk-free. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with the king of sportsbooks.
All right, Sam. So we talked a lot about Ridley here. Practice gets started here in about 10 to 15 minutes. So this next topic about the tight ends, emerging weapons. And we've talked a lot about Ridley, D-Hop, right? Tyler Boyd, the veteran receivers. And then you've got the versatility of Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears at the running back position. But I really think the Titans have somebody in the tight end position who is going to be a mismatch. I think Josh Wiley is going to be really good this year. I think there's something different about him. I don't know if he's a quiet guy naturally or if this, who we've seen being loud and talking trash, is who he really was, but he seemed like a quiet guy a year ago. I remember talking to Josh Wiley early in his rookie year, and I could barely get the audio to come through on my phone because he was that quiet and underspoken. This guy won't shut up on the field. He also won't stop making plays for his quarterback, whether it's a one-on-one drill in the red zone or out there on the field, or maybe it's a drill in 7-on-7 or 11-on-11. There was a play yesterday where Levis was kind of scrambling during this game feel live period, and Wiley slipped out of pass protection and was available right there for a check down spot where Levis was getting pressured. So I think Josh Wiley has a chance to be a very good football player. We'll have to see how his blocking holds up as this goes on, because you got to be able to do everything. But I've been really impressed with Josh Wiley. I think he's up for one of the most improved guys from last year to this year that we've seen in a Titans uniform.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's on the field for Josh Wiley and his performance, and off the field, like you said, in his demeanor. When we first met Josh Wiley coming out of Cincinnati, he was this quiet little Southern twang tight end that didn't really have a ton of character or personality to him. We heard from Will Levis earlier this summer during like OTAs, where Will mentioned, hey, Josh Wiley's somebody who's been letting his personality fly. He's been taking a bigger leadership role in the locker room. He's been more comfortable being himself. That's translated onto the football field. He is maybe the number one trash talker. Him and Mason Kinsey probably are competing for
on offense.
Who talks the most on offense.
Yeah, defense. If we include the whole team, we all know it's Jeffrey Simmons.
But both of those guys comfortable being themselves.
Yeah.
Josh is fully comfortable being himself. And unlike the Calvin Ridley thing, this is somebody who does have the natural connection with the quarterback. Him and Will Levis seem to be on the same page. So you start looking at a 6'7" frame with a little bit of flair to him and a great connection with your QB. And there's a lot to get really excited about. It's been firing so far in training camp.
Yep.
And I think it brings up a very good question about this team moving forward, because Austin, on that first depth chart, the unofficial depth chart for the Titans, Josh Wiley and Chig Okonkwo were listed as co-starters at tight end. That neither one was put ahead of the other one on the depth chart. So if Chig was your tight end one, it now starts to feel like Wiley is closing that gap.
So let's talk about that for a second, because how do you feel about them doing that with the co-starters? Because that's very much a college football move of a co-starter being named because a college coach doesn't want to give away too much. But the NFL teams really don't do that. What is your opinion on that? Because they did it with Tajay and Pollard too.
Yeah, I mean, Tajay and Pollard, it didn't surprise me at all, because one thing that we've heard from this coaching staff nonstop was, hey, these guys are interchangeable. They're going to be in there. It'll be Tajay, then it'll be Tony, then it'll be a Tajay series, then it'll be back to Tony. And they're just kind of going to use them and make sure they always have fresh legs in, because the skill sets are so similar and you don't really have either guy standing out in a particular area. Now, Wiley and Chig are a little bit different, because I do believe, hey, you might not necessarily have one guy, that is better than the other one, but they are different from one another, unlike Pollard and Spears. So Josh Wiley and Chig Okonkwo have different skill sets. Brian Callahan talked to the media yesterday, kind of explained how Wiley's going to be used a little bit more as a Y, where Chig is going to be used a little bit more as an F. So you're going to see Chig in line a lot more than you'll probably see Wiley used. Wiley will get a lot of third down opportunities, red zone opportunities, where Chig might be your more traditionally used tight end.
Yeah.
So they kind of have differing roles. They can both do either one and change those roles if you're in 13 personnel, or if somebody needs a breather, right?
Sure.
This is not strictly the way the Titans are going to do things, but I don't have a problem with it, because I do think in Brian Callahan's mind, they both have a spot on this team. Neither one is necessarily the starter.
Yeah.
They just have different roles.
Yeah, let's see. Lucas says both can be out there for hurry up, which is nice. Borg says Wiley feels like the runner pass option. Chig hints at a pass play. I mean, I don't know. I think they're kind of interchangeable there. Then our girl Patricia says Chig has had some fumbles too. Well, let's talk about the fumbles here in a little bit. But when you're talking about that spot for Josh Wiley, to be split out. I mean, let's just look at the play that he made. This was in one-on-ones yesterday on the goal line that I was able to capture this, and you'll see this play back-to-back as well. Hooty hoo, what a catch from Josh Wiley there. All right, let's ask this question here, Sam, because I think this is going to be interesting because we're talking about these two tight ends that will both be on the field quite a bit. Who will have more catches for the Titans in 2024, Chig Okonkwo or Josh Wiley? The two tight ends who will have more catches this year for the Titans this season between the two tight ends, Josh Wiley or Chig Okonkwo. But first, the Bone and Joint Institute is where you should turn for all of your injury needs. If you got to get better with your injuries or whatever body part might be failing you as you get older from an injury that happened 20 years ago, the Bone and Joint Institute can take care of you. They've got all the experts, over a dozen of them, and the resources in one spot in Franklin, right off of I-65 and Highway 96. They also have rehab facilities and other clinics around Williamson County for your convenience as well. But the Bone and Joint Institute, they've got everybody right there. They've helped me out with plantar fasciitis. They've helped me out with knee tendonitis and educated me and equipped me to do things at home so I don't have to keep going to a rehab facility. It's just a temporary thing there. But the Bone and Joint Institute is all about taking care of their people. So book an appointment today. It's super easy to do. boneandjointtn.org.
BetMGM and BetMGM.com. That's where you need to go for the king of sportsbooks, and use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up. Get up to $1,500 back in the form of a bonus bet if your first bet misses with the bonus code ATOZ Sports at BetMGM.
All right, so real quick, we asked the question, who will have more catches between the two tight ends, Josh Wiley or Chig Okonkwo? Scrolling all the way back up right here. Yeah, what a catch from Mitch, that play that we just saw from Wiley. But Steven says Wiley, Billy says Wiley, John with Wiley, Billy with Wiley, Mitch with Josh. That's a lot of Wileys there, but now we've got a couple Chigs coming in with Tamarcus and Clayton. Daniel says Wiley more catches, Chig more yards. Wiley coming in here, Josh Wiley from Hill. It's definitely a lot more Wileys, but Chig is getting more votes the more that I scroll. I do think the comment about Wiley more catches but Chig more yards is interesting. How do you feel about that? Because, yeah, Chig's had, what was it, his rookie year, he led all NFL tight ends with 40-yard catches with 3.
Yeah.
But a couple of them were screens where he just took off and ran. So he's got that ability, but I think Josh Wiley's pretty decent after the catch too.
Yeah, I mean, Chig, part of the nature of his game is just the explosive athleticism that's pretty rare for a tight end. Like, he has really good speed. And so because of that, yards after catch and explosive catches are going to be something that Chig brings to the table that Wiley doesn't necessarily have in his bag. I do think Wiley is pretty good after the catch, but he can't run away from defenders like Chig can, which is a unique skill set for a tight end. I think for that reason, it makes sense if people believe that Chig is going to have more yards, because they can feel like, hey, maybe it's just a simple crossing route, but if you give him half the field and open space, Chig's going to take it for 45 yards, and Josh Wiley might not be put in those positions very often.
Yeah, for sure. My answer to this question is more catches. It's Josh Wiley. I just think he is the more versatile player in the pass game. I think he's kind of going to run more route concepts. Like, I think he's down the seam. I think they'll split him out some to take advantage of mismatches, because he is 6'6", 6'7", however tall he is, and he can run and go up and get it. He reminds me of a basketball player who knows how to use his body that way, but they're also going to use him for checkdowns, leaking out late, like the play yesterday that I mentioned earlier. So I think Josh Wiley has, I don't want to put a number on it, because you expect Ridley to have 80. You want D-Hop to have 70. Tyler Boyd, how many catches are there to go around once you're talking about all these different players? But, I mean, is 40 catches about where you see the leading tight end option have? Around 40 grabs? 50?
Probably. I wouldn't say 50. You're probably closer to 40. My answer to this question is going to be Chig.
Oh, okay.
I still think Chig is going to be the leading tight end for this team. I think Josh Wiley will be more important Tight end, I think Josh Wiley will be the guy on third down. I think Josh Wiley will be the guy in the red zone. I think Josh Wiley probably scores a lot of touchdowns for this Titans team. He might have 5+ touchdowns for this Titans team. But I think when you're looking at driving the full length of the field, Chig is still going to get more usage.
Okay.
I'm still holding out some hope for Chig Okonkwo here that he will be the number 1 tight end just in terms of targets and yards and all of those things. But yeah, hey, 3rd and 8, I'm going to Wiley before I'm going to Chig.
Chig's dropping passes still at times, and he is fumbling the ball.
I don't remember many dropped passes.
I've seen him.
Chig
I've seen him drop a couple. I mean,
the fumbles. He has been
happening.
fumbling the ball. I don't remember as many dropped passes.
I've noticed more. I've noticed Chig and Burks drop more passes of the guys that this team is going to rely on. I'm not talking about the guys who will get cut, but of the guys that are going to make the team. I think Chig and Burks probably have 2 of the higher drop rates of the guys that'll make the team. But I don't know what's going on with Chig's fumbles. I do know this. I think this because of what I've seen. This defense is punching at the football more than any defense I've seen in a training camp in my decade plus of covering this team. They are making guys fumble, whether it's Chig or running backs or somebody else. But Chig seems like to be the most frequent fumble guy.
I mean, I will say this to Chig. One, I do remember Wiley fumbling once or twice as well. I will give this in Chig's defense. I don't really remember a ton of fumbles by Chig in full team period when they've been doing the full tackle drills. It's been a lot of 7-on-7 or situations where you're not getting hit and not getting tackled that I think he might be easing up a little bit. And then a guy comes in and punches the ball and the ball ends up on the ground. Because I cannot remember one, Austin. I don't know if you can. Maybe there has been one that I'm just not recalling, but like where in full team period when they're doing the live tackling that Chig has actually fumbled the ball. So
that's a good point.
Hopefully I don't jinx him.
No, I mean, that's a good point. 7-on-7, you're kind of playing like wrap and stop or thud and let them go or 2 and touch. And maybe that's just you get a little more lax with the football late in a rep. So, all right, that'll basically do it for us on this Thursday. We do have practice to get to really quickly, and we'll have tons of content coming out. Do want to give a quick shout out to our great friends at Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. That's it for us. Make sure you hit that like button, like the show before you go. It goes a long way for us on Facebook and on YouTube, and tons of content to come after and during practice here momentarily. So we'll catch you then. Appreciate it as always.